here.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's been maybe a month or so.
And sometimes life will have you doing things and prioritizing things differently so that you can make sure that everybody is taken care of, including yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So I have not been on vacation. I want to say for a couple of years now. So we actually went out to California. Unfortunately, came back and then I got COVID. So that was a bummer, but we're all healthy.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that was put a little unexpected blip, but we're all good. And
Yes,
it was
that's
worth
the
it to
most
go out
important.
there. Took the family out. I had 2 little kids and they did excellent on airplanes. So I was super happy.
That's good. I know I was happy about Tina getting a nice little vacation. And before she had COVID more recently. I had COVID before her. So, we're all just kind of
That's
shaking
life,
off our
right?
COVID
Yeah.
and moving on. Thank God we are moving on. And so today we're going to have a revved up conversation about starting over. I think it's important to let people know that it's okay to start over. And no matter where you are in your life, whether you're a young adult, whether you're a kid, sometimes you're putting together your Legos and it doesn't quite go the way you want, and so you start over. I think we need to be more like kids.
Oh yeah, exactly. No matter where you are in your life stage, you got to start over. And that reminds me of a story. My daughter had spent all this time with her little Legos building a whole little she's really into unicorns, so this whole unicorn land.
I like
And then her
unicorns.
little brother comes in and wants to play, and then he, I guess, toppled all over it, and everything kind of just fell apart, and she was so upset. So I just had to be like, honey, it's okay. We can always rebuild.
Yes.
Rebuilding is key.
It's important.
It's okay. We can make it even better than
Right.
the first one.
And it's important to recognize when you need to build a rebuild, you need to start over, because sometimes we'll get so frustrated and we'll be so determined to make something work that isn't going to work, and so we keep building on it, a unsolid foundation, and eventually you've got to start over. So you have to recognize when it's a need for you to start all over at the pivotal time, so that you don't get so far beyond, waste time, money, energy,
Right.
and inevitably you have to build over. So
Yeah, and I agree. And don't be afraid to pivot. And that's within anything in life, especially it happens in the business world, but even in your personal life too. You spend all this time and all your efforts doing something, and then you kind of feel that it's not right, but you're scared to change it because you feel like you wasted all your energy. But I think of it as, do I really want to keep putting my energy towards something that isn't working anymore?
not fruitful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good. I had a conversation earlier today with a friend of mine, and we were both discussing failed marriages. I call it successfully failed marriage, because when you have a marriage or a relationship that ends, and you didn't expect it to end, if you're wise, you'll take away the things that were good about that marriage or situation, and learn from it so it doesn't happen again, but then also so that you can, pick your shoulders up and feel good about things. Because I went through a divorce, I had to, thank you for the noise. We've got a noisy person in the room, sorry. And so I had to make a decision to start over, and I had young children. It was an unknown territory that I never navigated before, but I did it. I had to file bankruptcy. I had to literally move from one house to another house, because the house we moved to that we were renting, and I had property, but I made a decision to rent because I wanted to be in a certain area. And then that person, at that time, the market was bad. And so the person who owned the property was foreclosing. So I had to move from there, start over to a new place.
So everything all at once.
All at once. But again, I just learned to not get stuck, just to keep it moving and start over. And they shared with me a similar situation that they had, and they, made a decision to change fields. They went from being I think he had a restaurant, to then becoming a plumber. Going back to school, he started over, and right now is, very successful and is happy with his life. But at the end of the day, we just have to be okay with that. And you learn that as you start over, that there are so many other people who need to start over, and you can encourage because you've done it. You started over and there was success on the other side.
Right. I think watching someone else go through something or to be able to pick up something new is a huge, it's like kind of like a fire starter. Because even, for instance, with me, I had worked in professional marketing, corporate for a long time, and then decided to, maybe move into something a little bit different. So within the past, I guess, couple year or two, I've been having a lot of contacts reach out to me, be like, hey, I really want to be able to go out on a limb and do something else too. So they're looking at me like, can you tell me your story? Which I never thought would have happened, but because when I decided to leave corporate, I never thought that I would be encouraging anybody else other than myself. But you just never know.
Yep. And how it impacts, how impactful you are in people's lives. There's always somebody watching. There's always somebody who needs some encouragement and some empathy, and somebody to look to for strength. And so you have to remember that wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever role you play, that there's somebody watching, and more importantly, that you are in tune with the people who are around you and the role you represent in their lives. We can inspire each other with small things, small acts of kindness. I just, I can't say enough how important it is for you to be kind, but then again, this conversation is about starting over. So starting over may mean, okay, I ate too much today. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to start over. I'm going to eat less so that I can feel better.
Something I struggle with a lot.
I'm going to exercise today. Yesterday I didn't. I know I've been saying this for months. I don't want to be an I'm gonna person. So you just try again. Just try. When you first don't succeed, try again. That's what I learned growing up as a child.
Or even if you're trying to search for a new, maybe it's a career field or career opportunity. And it takes a lot of effort to find that new position, the one that's meant for you. So you may try and then fail, quote unquote, but I don't really believe anything is a failure. It just means that it hasn't worked out. So it's just an opportunity to find something else.
The path, I think there's a scripture, and I share because it's my point of reference. There's a scripture that says the steps of a righteous man are ordered by God. So if we think about the steps that we take in our lives and the paths that we're on, and we may realize this isn't the path I'm supposed to be on, and so let me get off this path. But even though you may not, that was not this path you were supposed to be on, there are things that you gathered along the way on that path that will help you on the next journey or the next path.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, who can really predict the future, where you're going to end up, where life will lead you, but you go through all these life experiences, and I think the best way to really build that resilient muscle is to, even when things may not work out the way that you had expected them to, have a moment of reflection, like, hey, what did I get out of it? Or I really built up this skill, or I became stronger at this, or I'm much more talented because I did this, and then you can take that into your next journey, whatever it may be.
I had to start over, even in my professional life, what I was doing with the organization, and things happened to me. I was sick, and it forced me to make a decision about things. And in doing that, I was blessed to be placed in another position where I could really do what I think I do very naturally, and which is speak into people, give kind remarks, encourage people, in a hospital setting. And so sometimes when you take or when you're forced, sometimes we're forced to start over.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we make a choice, and sometimes we're forced. And
But it's all in how you react to it, I
Yes.
think. Some people, like, whether they choose to or not, they may choose to face an obstacle and give up.
Yep.
But I think if you have built up your resilience muscle, as I call it, you can pick yourself back up no matter the situation.
And it all becomes, it's all well, because, what you were doing over here is, is transferable to what you're going to be doing over here, but you're going to be doing it in even a better fashion because you've built up that, the knowledge in what you're doing. And then, I think that, that human beings we're survivors. Now, some of us make a decision to survive, to thrive, you know what I mean? To really, in a way that you're like, whoa. And some of us make a decision just to live, and living is good, but living is, okay, I'll just do this, I'll do that. But if you really want to live in abundance, and then you have to make a decision a lot of times to start over and to take what you have, use what's in your hand to form what it is that you need, that you're trying to form, and just, if it's a ball, you learn how to throw it at 100 miles per hour. I don't know if that's fast or not, but I mean, in the baseball world, but I guess it probably would.
I think it would be really fast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like
that's fast in the car. Duh. So, yeah. But I think it's just, you just got to learn how to roll with the punches, but be willing to learn, be willing to, to put what you know. Sometimes when you're learning, you have to learn how to put what you learned on the table and listen to what somebody else is trying to teach you, so you can learn how to do it even better. So that's all that's a mindset, and it's all, and when you do that, you're able to give that, to people that you'll come across.
So talking about mindset, one of the things that we were discussing prior to as well was, so if you're in a low place and life has kind of knocked you down, how do you get back up? We were talking about the importance of training your mind to look positively instead of negatively. And as we know, if you have a negative mindset and if you have a negative attitude about things, it really affects your body, it affects your whole outlook on everything. You can easily just make yourself sick that way. And especially if you're only focusing in on yourself, it may seem like the world is crashing in. You don't have any other way to pull yourself up. And what are your thoughts on how can you flip that to think a little bit more positively?
Yeah, I think that, the best thing we can do in times of trouble, when we're going through something, you're in the valley, you're on the mountain, you're somewhere where you don't want to be, is to remember that there's somebody else who's in a far worse place. You have to shift your mind into knowing that your situation might be bad, but there's far worse. That in itself will help you to shift your paradigm of thinking. And then if you are able to, most importantly, not focus on yourself, not focus on, oh me, oh my, this is happening, and stop and just and take on the spirit of gratefulness, or thankfulness, but most importantly, to not focus on yourself, but to focus on somebody else who has a greater need, because then you'll realize how strong you really are, and seeing that person is weak and you are able to help them to achieve or to feel better, it'll give you strength. So I think that's one of the things I do. I really have, in the course of my recent years, especially, being that I went through, a health challenge, it taught me how to, first of all, take better care of myself, and secondly, to really look at people in a way, in an empathetic or sympathetic, even in some cases, way, so that I could, I would then feel better about myself and my circumstances, and definitely try to make other people feel better, because that's what we're our brothers and sisters keepers, so we just really do have to focus on what the good, and not the bad. You know, bad's going to happen, but it's how you handle it.
That's a part of life.
Yeah.
It's not all
Yeah.
good. It can't be.
Yes. I don't.
And that brings up a good point too. I think when you are going through something, it's important to remember that other people have things in their lives, even if they're not sharing, that they're going through too. So, you know, the importance of just having empathy for others.
Yes.
And I know for sure when I had health issues in my family and things are going on, I think there's value in sharing, even when you're struggling, because it opens up people towards you. And you can, even though it's hard, especially for someone like me to share your story and to put yourself out there, but it just lets people see where you're at. And you'll find a lot of times that people are in similar situations or they have gone through something you know, that they need to overcome or have already overcome, and they can give you tips and advice, and you can learn a lot of things that way too.
Yeah, perfectly stated. Yes, we can't, you know, I can't really add much to that. But the only thing that I can really say is you have to be able to open your mouth, because there's an expression that a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So if you know you are feeling any kind of way that is not your normal, you know, you may need to have a conversation with the person closest to you who you trust that can give you some words of advice or encouragement. And if not, and you could seek counseling, because there's nothing wrong with, you know, getting a therapist involved to help you work through your challenges. I did.
Yeah. So, and sometimes you need to.
Yes.
I mean, I have spoken with counselors too.
You gotta get it out your brain.
Yeah. It's you can't just let that poison your brain. You have to get it out somewhere or somehow. And sometimes it's better to have someone who's a little bit removed from your, you know, personal day to day.
Objective. That can be more objective.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't just hold all that in. Even if you don't have that kind of experience where you're used to talking about things.
Yes.
I would encourage anyone who is listening to really open yourself up to it, because it can really help release a lot of stress off of your body.
And when you do it, I'm telling you, you'll find out like, oh, that when the therapist may say to you, that is completely normal to feel that way, based on what you've gone through or what you're going through. So somebody who validates that feeling is enough, is like a cloak being lifted off your head.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow, okay, I am not the only person going through this, or I am not just like out of whatever.
Yes. So self-care. But yeah, I think, you know, at the end of the day, we have to be conscientious of where we are and where others are, you know, so that we can all be better together. You know, it's tough times for a lot of us, you know, who are, whether it's financially and mentally a lot, because there's a lot of mental health issues taking place right now with people that normally would not. But COVID, again, I know we talked about this a little bit in another video, has really caused people to react differently.
It's been a tough couple of years.
Yeah, and it's still going on. And so we just have to be cognizant of that as leaders, especially. You know, you're in a workplace, you know, and, you know, numbers are falling because people don't, you know, the strength or the fortitude to work is tough. And so you don't want to be too hard on any person because you don't know how fragile they may be.
Right, you know? Right. And it's really about, I think, caring about people. Yes, you know, productivity and all that is important to a business, but you really need to take care of your teams too.
Right.
Without them, where would you be, really?
Absolutely. You need them, so be kind. Be kind. So, I don't know, anything else you think that we could share in terms of, you know, the importance of being able to recognize when you need to start over, and it's okay to start over, and it's okay to be kind and empathetic all the time. You don't have to feel like, I'm just going to be this way a little bit because I don't want people to think I'm too soft. It's okay. Kindness never kills anybody.
Right, yes. Yeah, I think it's just, it can be scary to take the first step, especially if you're starting something over. But once you make the decision to do it, that's the first big hurdle, right? And then you can make a plan to move forward. So I would say, don't be afraid.
Yep.
And you can always pivot, like I said, if you
Yes,
need to.
and that's why there's an eraser at the end of a pencil. Did you know that? So you can erase, start over.
Yep, write your story.
Write your story the way you want it. End it, and then if you didn't like that ending, erase, do it again. So yeah, we just wanted to share today another Rev'd Up conversation. I think it's important. We felt it was important to come and share with you how important it is to start over, and all the other little things, tidbits of or nuggets we share with you. And we haven't been here in a while, so we
Yeah, it's
wanted to
been a
say
little
hi.
bit. So we're gonna try to be a little bit more regular with our conversations, but it's good to connect again.
It is,
Yeah.
always. So we appreciate you. We want you to make sure you take good care of yourselves, you know, of your teams, if you're in management or a leader, or if you're a mother, you know, or a father, whoever you are. Make
And all
sure
the
that
roles you
you're,
play.
yes, make sure you're kind first to yourself and then kind to the people that you interact with on a daily basis. Anything else you want to say, Tina?
I think that's it.
So we'll see you, I'm sure, shortly. Bye.
Bye.